Evening all. Well, you must excuse me tonight because I've got a bit of acid indigestion, and I think it could be the depressing nature of the news cycle this week. But I want to start on a high note, and it was a high note with our friend T. Um, now, this was very amusing because the Chancellor's Exchequer was pictured in his offices working with his Treasury team, and he was holding up a big bag of Yorkshire Tea. Now, Yorkshire Tea sell their product in these very big bags. Very useful if you're working in an office, you've got a large team around you, and you need to bulk purchase tea for everyone. And so he was doing it. And it's not unusual. He's done it a couple of years ago. Jeremy Corbyn was pictured with a very big bag of Yorkshire Tea. And I'm going to be sick. That's better. Anyway, so what happened was that he was pictured with this bag of Yorkshire Tea, and of course the left-wing pro-EU Twitter keyboard warriors couldn't let this matter stand, so they berated Yorkshire Tea for allowing a Tory, of all people, to flagrantly display their product on social media. I will boycott Yorkshire Tea from now on, complained some. Most notably a person called Sue. And Yorkshire Tea's response was absolutely brilliant. They didn't orchestrate a damn thing. They just sell their product in a size large enough to cater for a large working environment. And just so happens, a politician picks up the bag and just says, hey, I'm going to make tea for absolutely everybody here. And so, like the great Yorkshire batsman Len Hutton, Yorkshire Tea were just dead batting away all the nonsense from Sue and her chums. But when Sue wouldn't let the matter drop, Yorkshire Tea came back with perhaps the quote of 2020 thus far. And that is, Sue, you're shouting at tea. Just to underline how ridiculous this kind of boycott anything that carries the taint of a Tory on it. Isn't it? A few days later, Jacob Rees-Mogg was pictured with a tube of Pringles in his office. And you could just see some of the left-wing Twitterati just wanted to bite, but they couldn't. He's got a cloak in the background that looks like the Grim Reaper. Very clever, very clever. So it was just underlined how ludicrous the nature of political discourse has got in the United Kingdom that, guess what, lefties, conservatives, they're going to drink water, they're going to breathe air, they're going to go to the same places that you go to, they're going to enjoy the same food and drink products that you like. And you can't boycott them all, you insane lunatics. Get a grip. I was going to say something rude there, but excuse me again. So yes, let's move on from there. Slightly more annoying and depressing was the visit of Greta Thunberg to Britain, to Bristol, to lead a children's protest and a school strike in that area. Yes, get the kids out, sort of protesting about global warming in a week where it's been absolutely freezing here in the UK. In fact, I wouldn't say the temperatures that we've had this week have been unseasonable. This is what you expect for late February. But what about the flooding? What about the flooding? Sign of global warming, climate change? Well, the thing is, for years now, in the UK, we have been building houses and towns and communities on floodplains, and then we don't dredge the rivers. This has been a problem we've known about for years. Okay, so we've had some very bad floods. We've had floods in recent years, and it's always been traced back to the fact we are sort of building houses on places that haven't got proper drainage, and we don't dredge rivers. So Greta came along to do her usual things, and here's where it starts getting nasty. It starts leading into the theme of what's been going on in the news cycle this week. And that is that the Beano, the classic children's comic, decided that it was going to get woke and virtue signal by having a cartoon Greta Thunberg, all radiant, all kind of, well, as radiant as you can make her in cartoon form. And she's there, kind of this idealized figure. And then all the Beano characters, particularly Dennis the Menace and Nasher, the Bash Street Kids, all kind of Minnie the Minx, all just kind of fawning over Greta with their placard saying, yay, let's rebel against climate change. Yeah, let's kids get things done. And it was just absolutely cringeworthy from the Beano. I give the comic another 12 months to live before people start giving up on it. The whole thing about the main characters in the Beano, like Dennis the Menace and the Bash Street Kids, is that they are rebellious, but there's hardly anything about Extinction Rebellion, hardly anything about Greta Thunberg that is really rebellious. It's kind of stage managed and orchestrated by a very slick, adult-driven campaign that has got the media. It's got the media under its thumb. So the idea that a rebel like Dennis the Menace, who just is mildly destructive and disobedient just to see what it's like, the fact that he would get involved in Extinction Rebellion, it's just it's not in character. Likewise, the Bash Street Kids, they're always just pulling scams. Oh, well, maybe that's it then. Maybe they're just jumping onto this scam as they would have done over the last 40, 50 years, just pulling fast ones over people. So, yes, the Beano has gone woke, and it will highly likely go broke. I mean, it's hardly a comic that is relevant to most children anymore. And with story, if they're going to go down this woke line, it's just not going to resonate with children. But it doesn't end there, because if anything, we've learnt anything this week, is that the left is continuing to wage war on childhood. And it's absolutely sickening in places, and we'll get to the truly sickening stuff shortly. But I think one of the things that really annoyed me this week, kind of made me sick, like how I'm feeling now, was a tweet by a man called Matt, where he took his 2-year-old child to that Greta rally in Bristol. And he had this 2-year-old child of his holding up a kind of environmental message sign. And in front of the child, he's taken a picture of his 2-year-old holding up an environmental protest sign. And in front of the child, there's about half a dozen press photographers just all lining up. Oh, yeah, give us a bit more. Give us a bit more. Click, click, click. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pout for the camera. Click, click, click. They're all a bit like that. And it's sickened me that there's a 2-year-old child doesn't even know what it's doing there, probably. Oh, you're going to have a great day out. And obviously the dad is just filling its head with political propaganda. But we all impart our values onto our children. But at age 2, I just wanted my children to practice their reading, practice just basic life skills, getting them to socialize with other children and adults. At age 2, you're teaching them to talk. You're introducing them this is what this is. This is what this is. Getting them to construct proper sentences. That's the real basic parenting. What you don't do is impart your politics onto your children at age 2, let alone give them a sign they didn't write. And just say, here's something Daddy wrote, right? And hold it up in front of those men who's just going, yeah, come on, give us a bit more. And that's the worst thing. The worst thing is hawking that child for the attention of the nation's press, exploiting that child publicly. The child isn't to that dad, to that Matt person, you're not treating your child as your child. You're treating your child as a commodity to exploit, to push a message, and it's absolutely discretionary. He couldn't see anything wrong with it. He was just sort of railing against people who were complaining about it. Well, you're going to get pushback, pal. You're going to get pushback from people. They're going to tell you that you're a bad parent, and just suck it up, man. Suck it up, because you just don't do that. But in the minds of the left, the sanctity of childhood, children are, we just have to, at that age, you're just teaching them how to navigate through the basics of life before you get to the next hurdle. And just parading them in front of the press like that. It's to me, that's sickening, but it gets worse. So this whole phenomenon of getting drag queens to perform in front of very young children, doing reading times in schools and libraries, using them as some kind of substitute party entertainer, has not gone away. In fact, it's intensified. And as you would imagine, many people, particularly normies even, do not like this. So I'm referring to a specific video, although other videos are emerging. But there's a specific one of a little girl, and I'm guessing she's about somewhere between 4 and 6 years old. And she's sitting on a chair in this room. Pardon me. And then all around her, ringed around the sides and the back, are all these adults. She seems to be the only child there. But there's all these adults standing around there sort of with inane grins. And in front of her is a drag queen wearing a lot of makeup, some kind of military-style jacket, but a feminine cut military-style jacket, denim hot pants and stiletto heels. And this drag artiste is crawling on all fours, pawing at the little girl. Now, I can't see the facial expression of the drag queen in this video, but we can see them crawling, sort of wiggling their bottom and crawling, pawing at the girl. And the girl is sitting there. She is taken aback. She's not smiling. She sits back. She sits further. She clearly kind of, at least she's bewildered. She might actually be frightened, but she just is back, unsure of what's going on. And there are all these adults just around her clapping and trying to get her to just look at this drag artist as it's crawling towards the girl and pawing at her. And then the drag artist suddenly stands up, turns around, and sort of minces off. And then from that perspective, we can get to see just how heavily made up they are, not in a kind of clown way or like pantomime dame way, but in that kind of drag queen parody of womanhood way. And again, what is going on in the minds of these adults that they would take the child on their own, just put them on a chair in the middle, surrounded by people, and subject that child to this performance? What is the performance in aid of? What's it meant to do? And the child looks worried and frightened. And here's the thing, people who are defending this are saying, but you've got pantomime dames, drag is old, this is a form of children's entertainment. No, it isn't. Because the tradition of the pantomime dame, a man dressed as an ugly sister, or as wishy-washy, or any of the other pantomime dames, it's not sexual at all. The pantomime character is not sexual. They're usually a man badly made up to look like some kind of comic or ridiculous or even villainous figure. And so the emphasis is either the pantomime dame is either a figure of mockery or it's a figure of villainy, somebody to boo and hiss. But it doesn't come out of a sexual fetish tradition. The drag queen, on the other hand, comes from another tradition of the burlesque show, of kind of musical titillating, risque background. And the way this drag queen was dressed, as Jordan Peterson said, what is the purpose of makeup? Very bright red lips and rouge, a heavy amount of rouge, is a signifier of sexual attraction. So because the lips go red and the cheeks go red during kind of when the sexual senses are stimulated. And looking at the attire, hot pants is designed to titillate. It's designed to turn heads. Same with stiletto heels. It's to make the legs look longer in order to draw attention to someone's sexual attractiveness. Compare it to the little girl. The little girl's just wearing a little party frock, as far as I can tell. Just a simple frock that you would imagine a girl aged, say, between 4 and 7 to wear. So she looks age appropriate and sort of sensible outfit. The drag artiste is wearing clothing that is kind of heightened sexual stimulant, sort of tarty, sluttish, you would say, and doing the kind of crawling on all fours, pawing at someone, having that kind of exaggerated catwalk mince. This is not innocent children's entertainment. This is coming from the tradition of the risque, burlesque, you could say kind of, is it soft porn? But it's come from a more sexualized tradition. And it has no place in a young child's development. We're talking about children. This is being aimed at children who, at first I thought under 10s, but it looks more like under 8s. This is extremely disturbing. I'm a father of 2 children. One's 11, one's 9. And they just want to live normal. They want to run around, kick football, play just sort of classic childhood games. They just want to hang out with their mates. They don't want. I mean, they can't even conceive that of getting married. Oh yeah, I might get married. Dad. How old are you now? They can't even imagine what my age is half the time. But they just see all that stuff way into the future for them. It's not now, and they're not interested. And children even younger are just not interested in anything that carries any sort of sexual content, let alone romantic context. They can't even think of conceiving about holding hands with a little girl, or if the girl a little boy. They just cannot conceive of that. It's yeah, girl germs. This is reality, and this is what the left are doing. It's just warping reality. It's not that, and I know this as a parent, that it's not that our society has conditioned our children to think in non-sexual ways. It's natural that they haven't gone through puberty. They haven't had these experiences. They just want to be in a kind of playful, innocent world for as long as possible. They're not in any rush to break taboos at that age. At under 10 age, they're just not in a rush to break those kind of taboos. A taboo for them would be sneaking a sweet treat from the cupboard or from the fridge, or staying up that little bit later. And there is a deep sickness in the ranks of the left, and it's absolutely shocking to confront. So, this is just unbelievably dark and needs to be pushed back wherever. And to hell with, even if it means losing his social media account, I think we got to protect the children, bearing in mind what has gone on with the rape gang scandals that are going on. And to finish up with a tangentially related story. So there is this clash between the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, and a Home Office civil servant called Sir Philip Rutnam. Rutnam claims he's being unfairly dismissed from his job and that he will be taking legal action against the government. It looks like a huge clash between Patel and Rutnam over things. And what's interesting is that the pro-EU left-wingers are all rushing to this knight's defence. This is weird because they've never rushed to the defence of civil servants before, particularly knighted ones. And but steady on. If you are one of these people that just thinks instantly Priti Patel equals bad, and therefore Philip Rutnam must be right. Remember, this is a senior civil servant in the Home Office, under whose watch the Windrush scandal happened, under whose watch part of the rape gang scandal has happened, where the police are completely out of control, where Patel has asked for information about the grooming gangs and has been stymied and blocked all along the way by the civil servants. So no, I'm not going to be shedding any tears for Sir Philip Rutnam. I'm going to back the Home Secretary, and it is interesting how the left have kind of almost betrayed their racism towards Patel, because in a Guardian article this week, it railed against those of those British people of Asian descent whose politics align with conservatism and with the right in general. And they've gone after Priti Patel and a number of others. And this is a form of racism where they said, but if you are a person of colour, you have to be left-wing. How could you be anything other than left-wing? Well, people have minds, and people have lived experiences, and people have their own political growth and their own political opinions. And just because their skin colour is a certain way, just because their gender is a certain way, does not mean you guys on the left get to own them. So you are a bunch of racists. Deep down, this is racism. And on that note, that really does take the biscuit. Oh, I can't.